In these 4 bikes, we have 4 totally different motors, and I believe this represents probably 90 to 95% of all the e-bikes, e-mountain bikes that are going to be on sale in 2021. First up, in this bike over here, we have the Shimano EP8, brand new. Actually, you can't even buy it just yet, but this is going to be in a huge amount of electric mountain bikes for 2021. Next up, we've got the Yamaha PWX-2, came out in 2019, and we're seeing it in this new Haibike, also in giant bikes and some other e-bikes. The hugely popular Bosch Generation 4 has just had a software update to increase the amount of torque that it provides, and it's a really popular motor. And then finally, we've got the Brose 2.1 that came out pretty much with this latest generation Specialized Levo. It's in other brands as well, but a really popular motor. So in this video, I want to do a few tests. Firstly, I want to do a power test. In a drag race, which one is going to get me to the top of the hill the quickest? Then I want to do a noise test. So they make noise when you're pedaling, but they also make noise when you're coasting. Then what about the integration? They all have different levels of integration. Some have big screens and some are really subtle. So the first test, power test, drag race to the top of this hill. It's only a short hill, like 200 meters long, but it's fairly steep. It's got a nice incline into it, so it's going to be really stressing the motor. And I'm going to put them all into turbo. They are all fully charged, so they are at their peak condition for climbing. Now, don't read too much into this. It's not super scientific. Obviously, the bikes are different. They've got slightly different tires on them, but they're all similar. So it's going to give us a decent indication on what can get to the top of this hill the quickest.
First up, the Yamaha PWX-2. Released in 2019, this motor has 80 Nm of torque, 5 assistant modes, and for this test, it's going to be put in the extra power mode, which will provide me with the highest level of assistance.
Not a hugely popular motor, but it's in this new Haibike, and also Giant use it in a lot of their bikes. Same motor.
3, 2, 1, go.
Ooh, that is a leg burner. I tell you what, in boost, it just goes, man. It's so quick. Felt quick up there. Felt really quick. What was the time?
21:07.
21:07. It's a short little run, but 21 seconds on the Yamaha PWX-2. Let's try the Levo.
The Brose Mag S was released in late 2018. It's got 90 Nm of torque and is used in the hugely popular Specialized Turbo Levo and Kenevo bikes, as well as a couple of other brands. This test bike has the latest 2020 motor that was recently fitted and has less than 200 miles on it.
That feels quick. That felt quicker than the Yamaha. Almost wheelie-in quick in turbo. How quick was it?
20:37.
20:37.
So nearly a second quicker.
So nearly 1 second quicker. It felt it. Straight off the bat. It just goes. I almost wheelied it right at the start. Didn't mean to, but it goes. And it picks up speed and it felt rapid. I could noticeably feel this over the PWX-2. And I think the PWX-2 got up to speed quite quick, but this felt, when it got up to speed, it didn't lose any power. It felt I could just pedal and pedal and pedal, and it felt to me like it kept accelerating. Obviously, I'm not getting to the cutoff. I'm not getting to above 15.5 miles an hour up here, but I think I was getting close to it, and it just carried on going. This felt quick. Whew, okay, we'll try the new Shimano EP8 now.
Shimano EP8 is the newest motor to hit the market, just released for late 2020. It's got 85 Nm of torque and is the smallest and lightest e-bike motor on test. I think we'll see this in a large number of e-bikes for 2021. It helps manufacturers keep the bike small due to its compact size, and now Shimano make a 630 watt-hour battery for longer range.
It's burning. Okay, felt slower. Don't tame on the speed just yet, but it feels like the torque is delivered lower down on this one. And as you get up to a spin, it feels like it loses power compared to the Brose and the Yamaha PWX-2. But I don't know, what's the time?
26.7.
26? You joking? 26 point what?
76.
I double checked that this was in the right power mode before. I went onto the app and put it at maximum everything in boost. 26. It definitely felt slower, but that's 5 seconds slower. I need to do this run again. We'll do it again just to confirm, because I'm very surprised. It felt slower, but that's a significant difference. I'm going to check all the settings again, and I'm going to do that again and see if that result is the same, because that seems surprising to me.
So second run for the Shimano EP8 to try and get a better time. I double checked the app to make sure everything was set to the maximum torque and assistance levels, and the bike was definitely set into boost mode.
I gave it everything. Okay, it's definitely quicker if you don't spin as fast. It loses power as you start spinning. So on this run, my revs per minute were a little bit lower. What was the time?
23.31.
23.31, okay. So to get the most power out of this one, you need to pedal at a slower cadence compared to the other two, but it is still slower. And also what that leads me to believe is on really steep long climbs, the power will fizzle out a little bit more on this one compared to the other two, because they all make more torque at lower RPM. Those two, it didn't matter on this type of hill, but this one it did. It's still a couple of seconds slower. I am surprised, but riding them back to back, it's the best way. Screw the power figures and all that stuff, because they really can print anything they want on those figures. It's not until you actually ride it in the real world and you can see for yourself the difference in the power, or you can feel it. So one more bike to go, the Bosch Gen 4 with the latest software updates at 85 Newton meters and all that. Oh, it goes. Such leg burners. Okay, they're only 20 seconds, but it's just enough to get your legs burning, and typical of a short little blast that you might do on an e-bike. Felt quicker than the Shimano. I'm not sure how quick it was compared to the Brose and the Yam. What was the time?
19.78.
19.78. So the quickest. That's okay. That's interesting. 85 Newton meters. The Brose 2.1 has got 90 Newton meters. The Shimano is 85 and the Haibike is 80. But it doesn't tell you about the total power in watts of the motor. This is very much in line with what we did when the Bosch first had its update to 85 Newton meters. It was slightly quicker than all the others. So the Bosch Gen 4, in our unscientific, this is not a scientific test, right? It's just me and John ripping up this hill, but this has done it quickest, followed by the Brose 2.1, then the Yamaha PWX-2, and then the Shimano EP8 motor. But there's quite a big difference between the first place, 19 and a bit seconds, and the last place, 23 seconds, on a short, steep incline. So interesting nonetheless. Bosch Generation 4 CX still the most punchy motor out of the 4 latest 2021 e-bike motors. So all e-bike motors make noise, both when you're actually pedaling up a steep hill and the motor's making this kind of whine electrical motor noise. But secondly, when you're actually cruising or descending, depending on how the gears are designed in the motor unit, they'll make a bit of a knocking noise as well, and they all sound a little bit different. Now, to get this as accurate as I possibly can, I've got this professional audio recorder. It's a Zoom audio recorder, and I'm going to mount it onto the frame in the same place. I've got an inner tube as a little shock absorber, and I'm going to duct tape it onto the frame to try and give you the exact noise that I can hear. Now, it probably won't be real life because this is going to pick up probably a few knocks and stuff along the way, but it'll give you a good comparison between the 4 motors. So it's not a super scientific test, don't read too much into it, it's just me duct taping an audio recorder onto some frames, and all bikes will sound slightly different, but hopefully it gives you a good overview of the noise levels you get from these motors. So next up, let's talk about integration. I'll show you the different displays and how they're integrated on these bikes, and we'll also look at the motors as well. It will give you a little idea. So first of all, the Shimano EP8, brand new again, but very similar in terms of the integration to the E8000, the previous gen. What I love about this is it's got a nice tiny little discrete remote and a little dinky display just under the handlebars, and for those that don't like displays, it's pretty non-offensive. It's tiny and discreet, but it gives you all the essential info. And the EP8 is also a very small motor unit, so you can see on here this part under the seat and the seat stay is pretty compact and pretty small, so it looks nice and svelte. It looks like a very well integrated design. Moving over to the Yamaha PWX-2, it does have this kind of chunky looking plasticky display. In my opinion, it feels a little bit cheap compared to something like the Shimano. It is quite tactile, but it feels a little bit more, I don't know, flexible and a bit more plasticky, but it gives you all the essential info, the speed. It's a black and white display, just looks a little bit more old school. And the integration just down here, it's pretty well integrated, but this is obviously an e-bike. It just looks a bit bolder and a bit brasher compared to some of the more discreet ones. It's not better or worse, it's just a little bit different. The Bosch Generation 4 CX, most of the Bosch e-bikes use this Purion display, and I don't like it personally. A lot of people really like it, but it's just looks like a 1980s kind of Casio style controller, big chunky easy to reach buttons and easy to see what mode you're in. I don't know, I'm not a massive fan. And the integration of the motor is quite a small compact drive unit, and again down here it can be kept quite small. And then moving over to the Brose Mag S. Now this is typically seen in the Specialized Levo and Kenevo. It's a massively popular motor. And the integration is so neat on this, you can barely tell it's an e-bike. It's just got this tiny little mode controller and that's it on the bars. There's no display, which some people don't like, but you can buy a display if you want to buy Specialized do one, or you can use like a Garmin or a Wahoo if you want, or you can even use your watch to tell you battery level. But on these bikes, they've got the battery shown on the top tube just on there. But in my opinion, in terms of discreet looking, this is the most discreet because of the very minimalist look. And if you move down to the motor area, it does look quite chunky here though, doesn't it? But the battery down tube is really, really small. But in terms of the integration, I think Specialized have nailed it on these bikes. Different manufacturers use the Brose Mag S, and it does use a display. It's just this brand have chosen to integrate it in this way.
Next up, I want to talk about motor reliability. And for this I contacted The Bearing Man, who is a UK-based e-bike motor repair centre to help. Now, it's no secret that the Brose Mag S had loads of issues and so many people have had replacement motors, so this is a really important topic. Now, we don't yet have enough detail on the new EP8 as it's so new, but the E8000 could suffer from software issues that basically killed the motor. Hopefully Shimano have resolved these for the EP8, but that remains to be seen. The Bearing Man said that for the Brose 2.1, they actually should have called the late 2020 Brose motor the 2.2, although Brose have kept things very quiet. They've actually uprated the belt, changed the crankshaft hardening process and the crankshaft coating. They've even changed their big Achilles heel, the sprag clutch bearings. Although I have seen the bearings in the flesh, I've yet to see them fitted in a motor. All this put together should make for a much more reliable motor going forwards. And when speaking about the Bosch Gen 4, he says it seems like the software updates have fixed the 504 error, which was an overheating code, and although some people find the rattle a little annoying, the mechanical components appear to be very reliable so far. The new outer seals seem to be doing a good enough job at keeping out the water, and the motors are getting good reports. And finally, the Yamaha PWX-2. He says it's virtually identical to the PWX, a good strong workhorse. Unfortunately, not necessarily equipped well for the wet with no proper seals fitted. The nylon drive gear has also failed in a few of these, and we were putting this down to pedal strikes, but the gears appear to be cracking. But too early to tell if this is going to be an issue with the PWX2 in the future.
Hopefully that gave you a good understanding of these 4 really popular 2021 electric mountain bike motors. So let's start with the Shimano EP8. In terms of power, it is definitely the least powerful or the weakest of all of these motors. It felt to me like it didn't have the punch of the others. However, in terms of the feeling of it, it feels super natural. There's no like digital on-off feeling, and it's very, very smooth. And over the cutoff limit, it is super smooth as well. And in terms of like a complete package, the way it's integrated, it's beautifully integrated. So nice, neat little display, nice mode controller, just looks really slick and modern. And the actual drive unit itself is one of the smallest and lightest. Only weighs 2.5 kilos. So manufacturers are going to start to be making e-bikes that are narrower at the bottom, they're smaller, they're lighter, they're more compact. So you're going to lose out on some power versus the rivals, but you get a super modern looking electric mountain bike, and it just feels good to ride. Moving on to the Brose 2.1, you get a lot of good stuff with this. It is powerful, punchy, it does feel natural and smooth as well. And in terms of the integration, very, very clean. Now, I know this is Specialized's own version of it, but it represents a huge chunk of the market. There's a lot of Levos and Canevos, and they all follow the same pattern. So super clean cockpit, nice, powerful, punchy motor. And it sounds quite quiet, both when you're under power and when you're cruising and descending. The EP8 is very quiet when you're under power and climbing, but when you're descending, it is the noisiest e-bike motor out of all of them. So a great all-round package in the Brose 2.1 motor. Bosch Generation 4 CX. This is an absolute brute in terms of power. It is so punchy and it climbs amazingly well. In turbo mode, it definitely feels like an e-bike. It is just kind of pushing you forward. It maybe clatters around a little bit. It's not quite as refined as the others in turbo mode. Drop it down to EMTB mode and it's nice and progressive and it feels good and still gives you up to the full power in that EMTB mode. But it is the fastest, it climbed the quickest, and this is beating the other bikes on climbs. It's just a great, powerful, punchy motor. In terms of the integration, I don't like it. If you've watched any of my videos before on the Bosch bikes, I hate this display. It's clunky, it ruins the look in my opinion. The Kiox display is a small colour one. It's a bit better in terms of the look, but the controller on it doesn't feel good at all. So this loses out on the look and the integration on the kind of cockpit, but the motor's pretty small. It's pretty small and lightweight. In terms of noise, it's not the quietest on the climb and it's not the quietest on the descent. So what you gain in power, you lose in terms of the overall integration and the noise. And finally, the Yamaha PWX-2. Integration is not good. I don't like the big display. It's a bit clunky. By the way, this is my opinion. Some people like the displays and they really like the big kind of chunky looking displays. It's really easy to see. This is just my opinion, but the display is not good. But the rest of it is very good. It's a very powerful system. It's fairly quiet climbing and descending. It's a little bit bigger and a little bit heavier. So the drive unit is over 3 kilos. I think it's 3.1 kilos on this, which is 600 grams heavier than the Shimano EP8. So overall, this is just a good, solid performer. Like a, I don't want to say jack of all trades in terms of the motor, but a really good, solid performer. Not the fastest, not the lightest, not the best integrated, but a good overall system.
Here you go, a summary of the most popular electric mountain bike motors for 2021. Now, I've deliberately left out the lower powered motors such as the Levo SL and the Fazua motor, as well as the super powered TQ120 and a couple of others, as these are a bit more niche. But I've already tested most of those on my channel, so go take a look. And cheers for watching, subscribe for weekly e-bike videos, and I'll catch up with you all soon.